I just wanted to talk a little bit about going 10x, so 1,000%. So how do you grow something, whether it's a business or whether it's yourself, by 1,000%? So I just want to talk a little bit about why it's actually important at some point for a lot of business owners to think this way and to aim to go in this direction, but also for people to think about going 10x or whatever 10x or 1,000% improvement is in their life. So I suppose one of the ways I can relate this is just thinking about existing clients and previous clients that I've worked with on this kind of thing. And there's a methodology that we always go through, but the methodology is based on a concept where I like to differentiate between incremental and exponential. So incremental is, let's say, maybe if you're a leader, you're leading a business and you're doing well, and incremental is like maybe you're doing 5% better every year. That's okay for some, but I find that a lot of A players generally aren't satisfied with that, and a lot of A players who have teams of A players, those teams aren't satisfied with incremental growth. Now, I'm not making it right or wrong, I'm just making it's just come up so much with a lot of my clients. And I'll be honest, I've thought this way for my own business over the years as well. So for a business then, it's like if you're doing 100 grand, going to 110 isn't going to be very exciting, generally, or going from $1 million to, $1,050,000 isn't going to be 50,000 isn't very exciting. So the interesting thing though, and please bear with me if you're not yet a leader and you're not running a business, because the really interesting thing about this is it's the thinking behind going exponential that will produce the best results for anybody. So I want to explain a little bit behind the thinking, and I suppose if I relate it to a client, there's just one client that's come to mind actually, and she, when we started working together, her business had actually started going backwards, and she was pretty impressive in her field, doing well, had made a few little mistakes along the way, had actually lost her mojo, she'd kind of gone down a little bit in terms of energy and in terms of inspiration too. So we took a good look at the full business, and what really happened was we actually took a good look at her. I passed on lots of tips and techniques and all that kind of stuff, but the truth is they don't work as well as they would work when the person takes a good look at themselves. So the person, as I mentioned in a video yesterday, it's about the strategy and the structure. So what did we do with her? We basically realigned and recreated the foundations of her business and also the foundations of her. So what do I mean by that? Well, I think this concept is probably if you get what I'm about to say here, you'll get the whole point about going 10x and what's required. Let's say you've got a 2-story building. Let's say you've got a 2-story house and you're thinking about putting another floor, and you've got 2 stories, you want to put one more floor on top of that. Well, then it's fairly easy to do it. You just, you bring in some builders and you build another floor, and you've got a 3-story building, right? You get your planning permission, and all that kind of stuff, and you've got a 3-story building, and away you go, you've gone 50%, no big deal. But if you want to turn a 2-story building into a 20-story building, if you want to go from 2-story to 20-story, that's 10x. And so to do that, you just cannot put 18 floors on top of your existing 2 floors, because it doesn't work. The thing will fall down. It won't support it. It won't even get probably to 4. It might fall down at 5. But actually it just won't start working. You won't even get the permission for it in the first place. It will be flawed from inception. Okay? And this is the key. And I like this analogy because it's solid, it's physical. But this is the key, and it's also, excuse me, it's also the secret to anyone who's gone 10x, anyone I've worked with who's gone 10x, they have taken this analogy on board. They really have internalized it, and they have made the changes accordingly. So what does it require? Well, if you're going from 2 stories to 3 stories, you may need to reinforce something. You certainly need to increase the size of your team, and you go up 50%. If you're going from 2 stories to 20 stories, well, you actually have to knock down the 2 stories. You've got to knock down the building and build a 20-story building, a 20-floor building. So that requires new foundations, deeper foundations, potentially different team members, certainly new team members, but potentially replacing some. Not that you get rid of people just because you're going 10x. Some people might not want to do it. And having a new strategy, a new blueprint, a new design, new thinking, and that is absolutely essential. So that's what we did with this client. We went and we looked at the business, and as I talked about in another video about paradox, a lot of people are really, especially managers actually, can often be very traumatized by the concept of destruction, destroying something. Business owners tend to get used to it if they've been in business for long enough, so they know that to create, that something must be destroyed. You know, to build, if you look at any city, I mean, you can probably see one over there maybe. There's a bit of a skyline over there. So if you see any city, and they want to build a new building, they knock down the existing to build a new one. So they have to destroy in order to create. And so sometimes you got to break something to fix it, right? Or to grow it. So we looked at her business, and what we did was we thought, okay, where do you want to be? And this was the important thing. So, you know, the trick was getting her and anybody to think exponentially without worrying about how initially. And so to do that, we just got her to really focus in on what she wants and why. And once we got that, then we were able to build the building, okay? But in order to get it, we had to let go of a lot of limiting beliefs, I suppose you could call them. There was certainly a lot of emotional attachment to things. So there's a lot of emotional work, limiting beliefs, and just create some new mental models for how she and anybody could understand how something like that could be possible for them. You know, it's not just for these big industrialists of the world. You know, anybody can actually do it. It's just a lot of people don't believe they can do it, and some of the ones that do just don't know how. So we created new foundations. We created new strategies. We created new teams. We created new ways of even running meetings, new ways of thinking, new ways of running her day. How to deal with an advisory board, what to take on board, what not to take on board from an advisory board. What kind of clients to go for, what kind of clients to let go of, what to delegate more, what was the highest value of her time in the business. And turned out this particular lady, her highest value, her 1 hour of her highest value hour in her business was worth $2,000 in her business. So, you know, she wasn't going to waste her time doing anything that was worth 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or $100 an hour anymore.